Screw social norms. High definition and really nice looking screens have saturated the market for too damn long. So in protest, I'm doing the only logical thing. I'm living in 4x3, baby. This was surely the takeaway I could have gotten out of playing the Wii.
I mean, come on, who doesn't know what this thing is? It was the hit craze from 2006 to whenever the fuck. It was during a crucial time within the gaming industry. Companies like Microsoft and Sony were focusing on high definition and more expensive hardware. Meanwhile, Nintendo predicted the economy crashing and offered a fun way to play games that was cheaper to the other options. I mean, this thing was addicting, and some say there's a lone gamer still playing the Wii to this day.
Well, I glued the Wiimote to my hand. What did you expect?
The Wii was my first console that wasn't for little baby shitters. Move over, V-Smile! It's time for maximum sex appeal! For the first time, I could play the big boy games like Mario Galaxy, Sonic Colors, Super Swing Golf. It was like kidding, I was 5 years old and didn't know you could make Miis on this thing. What made you think I knew about these games?
I probably just made some people feel very old by just saying that, but this thing came out when I was 5 years old, and now I'm 21, and not only do I still enjoy the heck out of my Wii, but I still don't know how to do grammar good.
Me and the Wii have a lot in common. We're tall, skinny, fucking white. But to say that the Wii was a success was the understatement of that year. It sold over 100 million units. While that's not PlayStation 2 level of numbers, it's still really impressive. Nintendo had great marketing with the We Would Like to Play series of commercials. Two guys coming up to your door and playing the Wii with you. It was my dream!
We would like to play.
Get the fuck off my lawn.
These commercials highlight the best part about the Wii. While home invasion was certainly an issue, what wasn't an issue was the fact that Grandpa can get jiggy with a Wii remote. Anyone could pick up and play. Literally anyone. You can give this controller to a dog and they'd find a way to bowl a strike in Wii Sports.
How'd you do that? You don't even have thumbs.
Racist of you to think that I'm a dog. The reason why anyone would play this was because of the simple control scheme. You see, in the forgotten time that was the early 2000s and late 90s, you needed two greasy little disgusting hands to hold a controller. But now, it was less like a game controller and more like a remote, something the simple folk could understand. The Wii remote could represent anything, from sporting equipment and Wii Sports to a racing wheel. It really cemented how motion controls could be better utilized in video games.
It was a real novelty. Being able to move in order to do an action in-game opened the floodgates for more motion-based games. Some were action-related, while others were fitness-related. But you see, there's a dark element to all of this.
Who thought this was a good idea? I am 100% confident in saying that if this thing didn't happen, these two things wouldn't have happened. It's not unlike companies to try to copy what's popular just to rake in some more extra cash. Sony tried hard to push these glowing orb controllers for like a day, but they could never find a good way to implement them in games. This is also considering the fact that the DualShock 3 had motion controls built in, so like, what was the point of this?
Guys, I swear, it's better than the Wii. It has this glowing orb. Is that the only positive thing? Yep. Well, hot dicks, let's mass produce this.
Oh, well, you just look at that button layout. It's so fucking gross. I can see what they were going for, but it doesn't inherently make too much sense since these buttons are the same size as ants. The tracking and overall motion control weren't too bad though. It was pretty accurate, but this wasn't a system seller for most people. It was more like a bonus, and while it was an experiment that ultimately didn't do well, they would later reuse the hardware for PlayStation VR, and from first-hand experience, it honestly really works.
You have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy. The whole use of a controller would be neat if it didn't ruin my immersion. You're telling me I can't use my sweaty, milky body to play games?
That's what I'm here for.
A demon!
You see, Sony wasn't the only ones following in the footsteps of the Wii. Microsoft decided to go apeshit and have you do all the work. The Kinect, oddly enough, was more popular into the casual market than one would expect. I mean, it makes sense. This makes the Wii look like it's for undeveloped fetuses. At least that's what I would be saying if the damn thing worked. Look at this, Christ. In constant showings and in practice, the Kinect just failed to work. And every game that used it was just headache-inducing. Like, why can't I navigate through the menus? I just want to play the Sonic hoverboard game.
And to think this all happened because Nintendo really struck gold with low-tier hardware and high-tier motion controls. Well, yeah, it wasn't perfect. It was updated with things like the Wii Motion Plus, and even with that, it did change the way companies thought about making games and even consoles.
For a while, motion controls were seemingly being shoved down our throats. It was the new way to play! Why wouldn't Heavy Rain be compatible with the PlayStation Move? However, later down the line, it became more thought out. Controllers today have motion control capabilities. nowadays. Instead of using breadsticks, you now have a whole loaf to play with, and honestly, it's nice. Instead of every game having motion controls, really only some of it have it, and it's only there if there's a good reasoning for it. In a lot of ways, it improves upon the game.
So happy ending, right? Nintendo paved the way for a new standard in the gaming industry, and all that's well ends well.
You wish that were the case, you little disgusting gremlin. You see, Nintendo didn't just f the gaming industry, they f themselves. And they did it so f***ing hard. I mean, naturally, this is where you would go after disrupting everything in the gaming scene. Nintendo got weird. Like, as a company after the Wii. You can make the argument that they've always been weird, like they made a cube that you can game on. You gotta be mental to do that. After the success of the Wii and the marketing campaign, they decided to go for more of a family-friendly route for the launch of their next console, the Wii U.
Wait, that's a whole new console? I thought this thing was just some overpriced iPad.
This thing looks like a U-Draw tablet in disguise. No wonder why it didn't sell well. There was just no proper marketing for the Wii U. The launch was so bad, they re-revealed it as if it didn't happen the first time. It was overpriced, underpowered, and it didn't come with many games at launch. The whole point of the system didn't really make a whole lot of sense. While with the Wii, flinging your arms around like you want to murder somebody created new ways to play games, the Wii U kinda didn't do shit.
Even the pack entitled Nintendo Land tried showing off what the Wii U can do, but it really didn't impress. It was fun, just not innovative. This was Nintendo's first jump to HD, and all they had to show for it was taking your eyes off the big screen just to look at a smaller screen with less resolution.
Now, to be fair, Nintendo was heavily focused on the local couch multiplayer, and the Wii U did offer new ways to play games with other people. While 4 other people looked up at the screen, someone could be doing other things on the gamepad, and it was kinda cool. It was only really used in Nintendo Land. What the f***, Nintendo? Now, that's not to say that the Wii U didn't have other games that utilized the Wii U gamepad. It just was never constant enough to really warrant this thing existing.
I think here Nintendo pulled off a Sony, thinking people would buy it just because it said Wii on it. But let's be honest, if people don't know what the hell the thing is, they're not going to give in for that very reason. It's why I don't go to Arby's. Like, what even is it?
Nintendo, like I said before, was just honestly weird during this time. They got very anti-consumer. They were copyrighting people's gameplay videos, taking down ROM sites, implementing terrible emulators for their virtual console games, and it was all just really shitty behavior that would only get worse after the release of this thing. And I'm about to lose all my credibility as a Nintendo fan.
Now I'm gonna say something completely original, and that's totally not the popular opinion. I don't really like the Switch anymore.
That's not to say I don't like what the Switch offers. I really do like the Switch games. The first party ones, that is. The Nintendo Switch was really just the first of its kind. Console gaming on the go in a sleek system that had a big focus on co-op gaming. However, the thing is just very underpowered. It was a whole generation behind when it launched, and now we're in the days of high-res gaming, and the Switch has yet to see any upgrades whatsoever.
Oh shit, there's an OLED screen now. Well, let me just buy it so it sits in the dock the whole time. Honey, the Switch OLED is an investment, not a waste of money. What do you mean you're not my wife?
This is where the shittiness of Nintendo really starts coming in, doubling down on ROM removal, making it almost impossible to archive games, blacklisting whole accounts for modding, closing the fucking eShop, and for what reason? Just for a service that runs like shit and offers so much less in terms of game library. Now, it has gotten a lot better over the years, but just because it got better doesn't mean that it's good.
You may be saying, Tom, how did this stem from the Wii? If anything, everything changed after the Wii U because Nintendo hates being poor. But Nintendo wouldn't have made the Wii U if it weren't for the Wii. They literally share the exact same name. Plus, certain practices that Nintendo does nowadays started when the Wii was out.
Like I mentioned earlier, the adoptions of motion control in gaming, Nintendo's practice of selling underpowered consoles at a high price, expecting people to be okay with what they're giving because they're Nintendo. The Wii was honestly a shift within the company's direction. Instead of focusing on high-definition graphics and over-the-top hardware, they focused more on ways to improve playing the game. It's a decision that I can respect. However, I don't think it's needed anymore, especially from a company that doesn't care about their consumer. They did really well with the Switch when it first launched, but we now have other options, and those options are way more compelling than what they're offering us now.
The Wii was a huge milestone for the company. It was a huge success when they definitely needed one, and even others tried to follow in their footsteps, but once the trend died, they had to pivot. They focused more on quality of play, and that brings us now to a company who's seemingly stuck in the past with what they put on shelves. Whatever they do next, it will probably hit that same mark that both of these two consoles did. But you know what? After a second thought, I think they're really onto something. So in addition to living in life life only in 4:3 aspect ratio, I'll also live it in standard definition quality. This surely won't cause any issues. Oh no, there's something cool happening over there, but the stupid black bars are in the way!